Hello. So we're gonna have a talk eventually about different things, challenges that I'm experiencing right now. But the main thing here is I want to teach singer-songwriters how to play the guitar, how to sing, how to write music. And what I'm trying to do, I started it, and unfortunately I stopped due to life events. But I'm back now. I'm dedicated, and I want to make sure everybody understood what's going on here. I think originally we learned a G chord right there. Then we went to a D chord. Then we're going to go to an E minor chord. And then we're going to go to the C chord. And then we're going to do a E. And then we're going to do a A. And then we're going to do an A minor. And then a F. And then we're going to do a big B minor. Those are the only chords. I don't know why I just showed you all the chords, but those are the only chords a singer-songwriter needs to learn. That's it. Those 10 chords. I call them the 10 commandments of songwriting. And it's not like you're going to play every chord in every song. Not at all. Maybe 4 chords per song. Some rappers, some musicians play 1 chord through the whole song, and it's sort of dum, 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 dum. Then other people do 2 chords through the whole song. That's it. They switch them around, they do 2 chords. Then other people do 3. There's some really big famous songs that just use a G, a D, a C. You sit alone by the lamppost, you're trying to find a store to escape your mind, right? That's a song. The thing is, I want everybody to understand, when you write a song, it doesn't pay to learn a lot of new chords. Like, it's almost hurtful. You hear like Paul McCartney talking during an interview back in the 80s, where the interviewer, she's like curious about like, oh, where did you learn the chords? What are you doing? He's like, I just learned the basics. And the Beatles wrote music for a short amount of time, but they wrote big songs, right? And he actually demonstrated how to write a song right there, and it was genius. I'm gonna have to get that clip and put it onto the YouTube page here, because songs. And you look at a guy named Ed Sheeran. Is he the greatest musician? No. Is he the greatest singer? No. Is he the greatest songwriter? No. But he's a millionaire, and you know why he's a millionaire? First of all, he used social media, different things, all that kind of stuff. But he doesn't magnify the songs with learning crazy chords that he can barely play. He admittedly says he plays the same chords at different capo lengths. And the chords he's playing, a lot of them were what I just discussed, those 10 chords. That's why I wanted to make sure everybody knew that if you're going to play guitar, don't get stressed out. It is a weird instrument. It is strange. Like if you play electric guitar, you play bar chords all the way up and down the frets, right? You don't have to sit there and do open chords like an acoustic. So the acoustic is a little bit harder because you're learning these strange chords that don't make any sense to you. And it is a little weird when you think about it. Like you got to put fingers in a certain way to hit the certain notes to resonate these chords. So there is some I guess, variance to it that doesn't make any sense, right? But I assure you, if you learn these 10 chords, you'll be able to write any song. And you'll be able to play any covers that you want to play as well. Especially if you're a pop artist, a rock artist, a reggae artist, a country artist, definitely. Rappers are kind of going into the same thing. The only one that you might be a little off on would be kind of jazz. Jazz sort of does things a little stranger. They do progressions and different keys at different moments, and it's sort of, if you don't know jazz, it's sort of like, oh my God, it doesn't make any sense. But if you know jazz, you'll be like, yeah, it's the same thing too. We just do it a different way. So basically all the popular music out there uses those chords. And if it's not a popular music, there's a great, I don't know the person but he's advertising. He has different ways to write chords, and he's got these books, and he's all over the place. But he's making money off of people by saying, hey, why don't you play this rather than a G chord like this, right? That's a basic G chord. Let's do it like that, a little fuller, or let's play it up the fretboard, and so it rings a little bit. So what he's doing is I don't know if he invented it, but I know there's other people that have done this in the past where they write different chords all the way up and down the fretboard. You know, you don't have to just play. You could play a chord up here like that rather than doing like that, right? But there's no purpose in that as a songwriter. I mean, if you want to be a musician, you want to be able to play like guitar solos and different licks at different moments and bring experimentation into it to give your identity, it's great. But as a songwriter, people are programmed, and I hate to say this, we are all programmed to hear music a certain way, right? If you like jazz, you like this, you like country, you want to hear it like the way the country plays or the reggae players or the pop artists play. They don't want to complicate it with the chords. The chords are there to give you some sort of dynamics to project your vocals and your lyrics. But mainly what people care about is the chorus. So if you can come up with a good laying out of chord structures, let's say 4 chord, right? Something like that. Right? But you could do the same chords like this. Two different songs, right? And if you use this thing called a capo, which I have right here, it's sort of a tricky thing here. You could put the capo on the 3rd fret here and play the same chords. Now they're high. Right? So we're learning a little bit of guitar today. You see how I even ring the chords even though I'm... See that? That'll be some techniques I'll teach you. It gives variance. Every song has to have some sort of, I guess, change to articulate what it's trying to communicate. So, and I grew up, I'm a little bit probably, I'm not 20, right? I'm not like 18 right now where this stuff is easy because everything, you go to Ultimate Guitar and you download the sheet music and you learn every song you want to in 3 seconds. I grew up where they didn't have that. You had to kind of either buy a songbook or just kind of listen by ear. So that's what I started to do. I started to just listen to different musics and like I started learning like a G chord on like a regular book, right? And then I started realizing like every time I was playing these chords, I was like, it's so weird. Everything kind of revolves around 4s. Every song seemed to have chords that were 4 in a row. Like you do a verse, you could do this as a verse over and over, and then you go to the chorus. You're like G, D, D minor, C, right? And that's the big chorus, and you kind of project with it, and you're singing louder. You're singing something more defined to what you're trying to create. And that's what I started writing. People used to call me the improvner because I didn't really want to learn covers per se the exact way. And when I was playing out, I used to play originals. And then one guy came up to me and said, "Why don't you play in our cover band?" I said, "Why?" "Well, it pays this." I said, "What? It pays that much?" And I had to make a choice. I was like, well, I guess I had to do that to make some more money, and then I can play my originals open mics or shows that I booked for original music with bands and stuff like that. It was great. It was a great combination. But because you can make a lot of money playing cover music in a cover band, but you can't do it forever, unless you live in a state that has like cover bands that play older functions and things like that. You can't be like necessarily make a living, when you're like in retirement age. I guess you could. I guess it's just, I don't know. Usually cover bands, they like it when you're young and fresh. You play a lot of different things, events, weddings, and all that kind of stuff. So, but I didn't want to do that for a living, but I did it for money at the time. And I was making a lot of money playing cover music. But I always played original music. And that's why I wanted to come back to teach you guys how easy it is to write a song. And that's what we're going to be discussing. So we've already discussed the G, right? I'm doing a super G. Then we did a D. And now we're going to go to a totally different chord, because this is a G major, or like an open G major they call it, because otherwise you'd be doing a bar chord. Right? That's the G in a bar. That's the regular G. And then the open D, or a bar D. And then you go to this thing called an E minor, right there. This is really what they teach you in a book. They teach you in a book the E minor first, which, listen to this. It doesn't have that, when you play the G, you're like, yeah. To a D, you're like, oh yeah. Why am I going to a minor? Why has it got to be an E minor on this 4 chords that I'm learning at the beginning? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because after that, you go to a C. 9 times out of 10, you go to the C. Because this is one of the patterns of a song. A G, a D, E minor, and then to a C. And why do you do that? Because human nature likes to hear big chords, especially when it opens up. It's considered a G key song because you're starting on a G. That's how simple it is, right? And you play the G, you play the D, then you go to an E minor, which kind of gives it dynamics in the song. Because you can't just, unless you're Hootie and the Blowfish, you can't really get away with just playing majors through the whole song. No offense, Hootie. I think your music is great. But the funny thing is, you go to the E minor to mix it up, and then you come back with a major, which is the C major. So the big majors that you got to learn on the guitar is a G, a D, a C, and the minor that you want to learn first is the E minor. And the E minor is a great one because, like the Rolling Stones, hey, what I like about you. Well, that wasn't the Rolling Stones. That was a different song. But keep on looking my book, what I like about you. Or you could do, I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get no girly action, but I try, and I try, and I try, and I try. I can't get no satisfaction. Right? And that's all based on an E, right? I call it an E minor in this situation because it's sort of the same note, but it's an E song. Back in the 60s and 70s, or mainly in the 60s, E's were kind of a big thing. Nowadays, it's more G's and C's and and D's. I mean, that's those 3 chords are always around. A lot of famous ballads, a lot of famous songs are all G, D, C, right? But you bring the E minor in there, now you have 4 chords you start off with. So we got the G, D, E minor, C. And what I'm going to start doing now is I'm going to start giving you guys some handouts if you want to download some stuff. I got to figure out how to get a download up to YouTube, so you have to download it. Just to kind of give you the chord structures. You could Google them right now, like when I say a G, a D, an E minor, and a C. Just look it up, Google it. Just take the simplest way to make the chord and go for it. Now, I wanted to leave you with this real quick here, is like you play a G. I always play the big G, I call it, with the ring finger and the pinky on it. But if you can't get your fingers, you're starting out, you're like, this is too much of a pain in the neck. I have big hands, so it's easy for me. But if you got a big guitar and little hands, or vice versa, you got to figure out a smoother way to do it. Well, guess what? If you do the G, just take your index and your middle and just strum the chords without these 2 guys on it. Sounds a little bit more depressing, but it's a form of G. Right? You just got to be able to. You got to start picking chords on this side while you start to strum on this side. That's a little finger picking. I used to use a pick, but I used to lose the picks during gigs, so I stopped using them a while back. So I just kind of strum with my hands, which doesn't sound as impressive. I unless I'm plugged in. When you plug in, it sounds really cool. I'm gonna teach you a little trick though, because a lot of songwriters are sitting there like, I can't like play and go crazy on one side or the other. Well, you got to, because then what happens is if you just go out and you're just like doing this and you try to sing, you're like, I can't go home, right? That's how you gotta do. You gotta start playing the guitar if you want to be a singer with an instrument, because you'll be more powerful as a singer if you can at least play these 10 chords I'm telling you and sing. So take the chord that I taught you, G, D, and now an E minor and a C, right? I'll give you a couple chords here, right? You learn those 4 chords in that order. You don't have to do it in any order. You can start off with an E minor, right? You can just go back and forth, different chords that you feel like playing in a row, just go. But those are the 4 chords. If you can learn those 4 chords, and then you got 6 more to go, but those are the only chords you really need to do for if you want to write like 20 songs, maybe 25 songs, maybe even 100 songs. You could just use the 4 chords, and I'll teach you things about capos and different things. You could just learn those 4 chords and never learn any chords in your life. Just master those 4 chords, and you'll be able to at least write 25 songs. And we'll talk about how you write a song next time a little bit. So I just want to leave you with those 4 chords, and start figuring out how you're gonna hit this side. The reason why I say you got to figure it out, because everybody's a little different. If you got to pick, you want to learn how to pick with it, go for it. If you don't got to pick, you want to just strum with your hand, go for it. We'll talk more about that. But just start doing something that you feel like, hey, I'm sort of going to be a songwriter now. You will be a songwriter very quickly if you do what I tell you to do. I'm very demanding. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys listening. I'm new to this like teaching stuff. I've always been a musician, and I'm not big on really teaching the secrets, but for some reason I want to teach them now, because I feel like me holding them inside is sort of selfish. And there's a lot of musicians out there you'll learn different tricks of the trade with, and mine are a little rough, but if you want to be a singer-songwriter and play open mics to playing gigs and things like this, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know. And it's basically just coming in to subscribe for my channel, and we'll get more knowledge out there for everybody to learn. But thanks again, guys, for hanging out. Any questions, please leave a message. Subscribe, bring your friends, leave a thumbs up, and we'll get back to this next time. Thanks again. Bye.